With the rise of social media leading to quick dopamine hits wanting you to spend impulsively, and overall just the decline in financial literacy, buy now pay later companies have slowly taken advantage of this and have woven their way into everyday aspects of your life. And back then, going into debt usually meant just a big purchase like a car or a house, but now it's being used in everything from grocery stores, clothing, to even DoorDash or Uber Eats. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining what buy now pay later is, how it's hurting consumers, and what you should probably do instead before these interest-free payments add up to something much worse. So let's say I saw an ad browsing social media and it caught my attention enough where I click on the link for this JBL speaker that's $100. Now that price is pretty steep for my budget, but I am in luck because I see I could buy this speaker for $25 now and pay the rest over 6 weeks in 4 easy interest-free payments. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, if it is, there's probably a catch, and that's what this video is about. In essence, that's what buy now pay later is. It's a short-term, often interest-free loan that's split up into 4 payments, 1 at the very beginning and then 3 later down the line. And for most companies, this is usually split off into 6 weeks, where every 2 weeks you pay off that remaining balance. And this is a very popular model. It's being used by a wide variety of people, and it keeps growing year after year. And this chart came out in 2024, but you could see just a sharp increase in how much people are using this service, where in 2024 it's 86.5 million, and in 2028 it's projected to go all the way up to 105 million, which is almost 30% of the whole United States population. And kind of like I stated, you could see why this business model is so popular. It almost sounds too good to be true, and there's not really any drawbacks that really catch your eye right off the bat. But take a look at this chart that showed exactly why people chose buy now, pay later. And you can see the majority of people, 87%, like that spread out payments just because it makes the spending feel a little bit easier. But the big one is that 58% of people said that that was the only way they could afford it. And that's such a big number, and it somewhat shows that people are not making the best financial decisions when it comes to purchases. And usually when you can't afford something, you just can't afford it. But now we're seeing that the majority of people are being able to afford it, but it's that really big catch where you're not paying all that up front, which could cause you to get into some pretty murky waters down the line. If you're at a checkout screen with a $1,000 purchase, it's a lot easier to split that payment up into 4 $250 purchases. It makes it seem more doable, and it really separates the purchase from the overall cost of that item. And people don't really value future consequences over present day things. That initial purchase right at the beginning could be fine right now, but when you can't afford it down the line, they don't really have that willpower to know that that's not going to be a good idea in the future, which could end up being a really slippery slope. And to make matters even a little bit worse, the majority of people that use buy now pay later are often under 36 years old, which means they have a little bit of discretionary income, but that income is going to be used a little bit more impulsively than, let's say, somebody that's 50 years old that doesn't really browse social media that much. And this graph just narrows it down even further, that between age 25 and 33, there's 32.6% of people using buy now pay later, and that little majority makes up 16.2% of the US population. And this kind of makes sense when you just come out of college, you just have your first job. It makes sense that you're going to be using a little bit more of your discretionary income to be purchasing items, and that's the age range where you're usually on social media a lot more, which could lead to more impulse spending and overall just bad habits with money. And let's face it, people are actually DoorDashing and buying stuff off the TikTok shop with buy now, pay later, even though it might not even be that much to begin with. So do you really want to be spending money on your Buffalo Wild Wings order that you paid for 4 weeks ago and you're still paying it off? Probably not. And you may be thinking that buy now, pay later kind of seems like a credit card, but I'll explain why using a credit card is so much better than using any buy now, pay later service. So the first one is building credit. When you're looking to get into a larger purchase like a car or a house, you're going to want a high credit score to be able to get a more favorable rate and pay less money monthly. You could be paying every buy now, pay later payment on time over the course of your life, and it's not going to change your credit score at all because it's not related to it whatsoever. But where it gets kind of dicey is when you miss buy now, pay later payments. They have no reason to not report you to the credit bureau and ultimately get your score dropped even on your credit card. Credit card companies have also been around for a much longer time than buy now, pay later companies, so they have a lot stronger fraud protection in case you have to dispute any charges down the line. Credit cards also give you rewards like cash back, airline points, hotel points, if you're into that sort of thing, whereas buy now, pay later companies, you could pay thousands of dollars on Klarna, but you're not going to receive any benefit in return. It's also better organized. Usually people only have 1 to a couple credit cards, and it makes it a lot easier to see all your payments down the line. But when you're splitting all of the buy now, pay later companies. One site could have tons of different ones to choose from, so if you're purchasing on tons of different accounts, it may be really hard to track your payments. And a thing that you could do is that credit cards often have no interests anyways if you pay the full amount off each month. So you could kind of treat your credit card like buy now, pay later and still get all the benefits of a credit card. Every week you could go into your credit card and pay 25% off of that purchase, and it's almost like just a buy now, pay later with a credit card. And the thing is, buy now, pay later companies know this and know that lots of people are going with credit cards, so they make their services as easy and streamlined as possible to get into and start buying using them. And obviously by doing this, they're making more money, but they're also making the companies that offer their services a lot more money as well. Stores using buy now, pay later will see increased order size, better checkout rates, and more impulse spending overall. If you're ever browsing on websites, you'll often notice that the buy now, pay later option is usually colorful, shows a lower money amount, and may be automatically selected. They do this for a reason, so you can click it. And by having these services on their stores, they could take merchant fees anywhere from 3 to 8% of the total sales price, and down the line, this could mean that the store is just going to increase their price overall to kind of offset this cost. Which means even if you don't use the buy now, pay later option, you could see increased prices because of this feature. And one of the biggest ways that these buy now, pay later companies make money is with late fees. If people can't afford an item and buy it anyways, thinking that the buy now, pay later option is better, you could almost assume that they're going to be missing payments down the line. And there was a poll from LendingTree showing that more than 4 in 10 users of buy now, pay later often paid late one time in the last year on a purchase. And that's just up from 34% just a year ago. At the end of the day, buy now, pay later isn't inherently evil. It could be good for some users in certain circumstances, but for the majority of people that are using the service, it's a really bad idea. It's just a tool that only works if you're extremely disciplined with your money, only pay for how much you can handle, and can track every payment. But like I said, this is usually not the case for the majority of people that use this service. If you are going to use buy now, pay later, I recommend being able to afford that item outright in cash right at that moment when you purchase the item. And this is not, oh, I'm going to have the money in a couple weeks with my paycheck. This is right at this moment, right when you buy it. And that way you know you can afford the item and you know that you're unlikely to miss any payments. I hope you learned something in this video and gained a better understanding of what buy now, pay later is and how it could be bad for some people to use. YouTube thinks you'll like this video next. That's all for now. I will see you in the next one.